Okay, so today for Mother's Day, I decided to make some arepas because that's what my mom used to make me. And they're good. A lot of people describe them as a corn pancake, and I really don't think that does it justice. An arepa is an arepa, and that's it. It's nothing else. So the first thing we're going to make are beginner arepas, which are made typically with white corn. They're probably the most popular, maybe, I'm not sure. Of course, arepas are from South America, from Colombia, Venezuela. It's a different type of cornmeal than what we use in the States. This would make horrible cornbread, and our cornmeal would make awful arepas. So, let's put this in a bowl and get going here. I'm going to pour the whole thing in, because I think I have a little under 2 cups right now. You can do some salt. I'm going to put a little bit of mozzarella in, but you don't have to. You can go straight to the water. Let's get a nice big handful of mozzarella. Alright, just kind of mix it up a little bit. You want to incorporate the water in, but go a little at a time. You don't have to go crazy. So the trick is to find the perfect balance between, well, enough water or not enough water. You don't want it too dry because then your arepas are kind of all cracked and they don't cook right. And you definitely don't want it too wet because you'll be making soup instead. Okay, so let's see how it looks. We're going to let it rest for a little bit. That's just a little on the dry side. I'm just going to put a tad more water, just a tad. And that is an official tad of water. Alright, you're going to let this rest for about 5 minutes because you want the water to completely absorb all the cornmeal. This is yellow cornmeal. It's just the same as the white, but I guess the process is a little bit different. And we're going to use this to make arepas de chocolo or choclo. I grew up calling them chocolo, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but arepas de chocolo. Now you can make this dish with just this and lots of sugar and a little bit of baking soda, but the real way to do it is to use actual corn, and that's what we're going to do. You could use canned corn or frozen corn kernels, but that's not very good. So we're of course going to use raw, real corn. But first we have to get it off the cob, which is the hardest part of this whole dish. So we're just going to cut the corn right off the cob here. But I like a little kernel, so I give them a nice little pulse. So there. When people make this dish, they tend to blend just the bejesus out of them, making almost a paste. But I like a little kernel in mine. What were you saying, sir?
Like sticky paste?
Like sticky paste. Well, there's gonna be a little juice, but that's fine. Let that go in too. I grew up in central Illinois, in southern Illinois, excuse me, in a pretty small town, home of Jimmy John's. Fact, never ate there once when I was a little kid, by the way. Didn't even know what Jimmy John's was until, I don't know, 5 years ago. In 1980, you could not get this in a small town in America. I'm sure in the bigger cities you could find it. So my mother's mother, my grandmother, would mail my mom pan and coffee from Colombia, and she would use this in our arepa. You could cook this without the pan. You could cook this without this, but it doesn't cook very evenly, and it's kind of mushy inside if you don't cook it for long enough, and they're very flimsy. So this just gives it a little body and kind of brings everything together. Salt, always salt. So you don't want to put a lot, like you definitely don't want to do the ratio on the back of 2 cups. You kind of just want to sprinkle it in. We don't want the cornmeal, the masa arepa, to be the star of the show here. We want the corn to be. And so it's a little bit of leche, a little milk. And you can also add cheese into it, like mozzarella or quesito, which is a Colombian cheese. I like the corn to be the star of the show, and so did Mom. I'm gonna do it her way. And the last thing we're gonna add, this is, I don't wanna say optional, it's probably a good idea, baking soda, or baking powder, excuse me. And this is just gonna help them cook inside a little bit better so they won't be all like raw corn tasting inside. And just a couple, ooh, that's way too much. And just a couple, and just a couple tablespoons. I think a tablespoon and a half or so would be enough.
Those recipes require like a teaspoon.
That's not true, is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, it's a lot, it's a lot. Oh, we've got the most important ingredient. What's your favorite ingredient, Ethan?
Sugar.
Sugar, yes. Sugar, delicious sugar.
You don't measure anything, do you?
I don't know.
There's
Quarter cup of sugar. It depends how much corn you have. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ears of corn. So you gotta eyeball it. You gotta learn. You gotta learn how the arepa comes together.
It's not like making pancakes.
It's just like making. It's not anything like pancakes. These are arepas. How dare you, sir? Okay, we're gonna let this rest, and now we're gonna set up the cooking station. I would recommend a vegetable or corn oil. It's not my favorite kind. Come up here. Excuse me. Keep your eyes up here, okay? I would use a vegetable oil or corn oil. They're not my favorite oils, but olive oil doesn't really taste right.
Right, it's action time.
Rolling? Mm-hmm. Is things in focus?
Same angle, same everything.
Alright, we're gonna take our masa, we're gonna take off a chunk. I take about a handful, roll into a ball. There's several ways you can make these. I'm gonna do the thick one first, but we're gonna do something about that size. A nice little disc. You gonna put it on the grill. Get that guy going. The next one we're gonna do is gonna be a thin version, which is pretty much the same process, except what do you think we're gonna do?
It's super skinny.
That's right, it's super skinny. Just taking a little bit of parchment paper. You know what I'm doing? We're gonna take our masa, pop it right there. Another piece of parchment paper, and
Squish it.
squish it. And there we go. That's the thin version. It's actually still a little on the thick side, to be honest. And that's gonna go on the griddle. Typically, you can tell if you need a little bit more water when you made the batter, when you get these cracks on the edge. But I think we're gonna have to live with that because my cameraman is making faces at me.
Action.
All right, so we're about to flip these. They've been going for about 5 to 7 minutes. I like to just check to see, like that's looking good to go right there. Some people like them even like almost charcoal on them, and there are even times when you make these beforehand, freeze them, and then you heat them up over the stove, and they get all charcoaly and actually pretty good. Which is.
That cheese.
You cannot have my cheese. How dare you try to get my cheese? you typically use quesito, which is a Colombian cheese. You can find it at the Hispanic grocery stores. It's just a white cheese. It's a little salty. It's very good. I don't have any, unfortunately. But mozzarella. This is sliced mozzarella, and these are some Trader Joe's fromage, which just means cheese, doesn't it?
I don't like
but they're really
that.
good. They're really soft. You love it.
I forgot.
Crazy man.
It.
But you can also put cheddar cheese on them if you want to. Or this is actually American. So we're gonna do American on.
Tara.
What?
Close the cabinet behind you.
We're gonna put American on one of them, and we're gonna put some mozzarella on the other.
Now it's time for our next arepa.
That's right.
That's why the skillet is so sticky, because you use oil.
What else am I supposed to use on?
Butter? I never use oil on that.
I think you're mistaken. I think the butter would make it more sticky than the oil.
I use it for years to make pancakes, and you can use it for a month or 2 and it gets sticky.
Would excuse me.
Princess.
Excuse me, princess. Now we're gonna cook our arepas de chocolo. We're gonna take our dough, our batter, and we're gonna take a nice, good-looking spoonful. We're gonna place it. We're gonna spread it out just a little bit. We have our arepas de chocolo cooking on the griddle still, but we're gonna go revisit our thicker white arepas. And they're nice and cool to the touch now. We're gonna cut them open, not all the way. We're gonna make a little pocket. Avocado chicken salad, which is a popular one. You can do pulled pork. You know, something you would find on a food truck that costs $16 pretty much, and they stuff it in there and then you eat it like a little sandwich. It's not my favorite style, but of course, what you can do is fold up some cheese and just kind of stuff it in there. I'm gonna stuff some just some shredded mozzarella in it. You can see the inside. It's cooked nice and evenly and thoroughly, because you would know if it wasn't cooked right. It'd be all weird and doughy, and well, you don't want that. These guys, oh my God, please, there we go. And we'll let those melt, and then we'll be back. Where's my cut? Did you already cut, Cena? Where's my cut?
Cut.
Okay, you didn't say action.
Action.
Thank you. So, I think we're done here. Everything is cooked. The cheese is nice and melted. I have a special present for these two guys. You see our cheese is nice and melted. These guys, I'm going to do it the way my mom used to. Now, like I said, her mother would send her the Colombian cornmeal, the pan, but it was impossible for her to get. It was impossible for her to get quesito, which is the Colombian cheese, because you really can't mail cheese. It's definitely in like 1985 or whatever. So what my mom would do, did you just say uh-huh? I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience. What my mom would do is she would take, and this is weird, but oh my god, it works. She would take cottage cheese, just normal cottage cheese, put it on the arepa, a lot of it, if you could tell. A lot of cottage cheese on the arepa, like this, and to kind of give it that.
Is that a little bit too much fat?
And yes, to make it a little bit more quesito-like, should we take just a little bit of salt, a little bit? I'm talking a quarter of a pinch of salt, and just kind of sprinkle it on top, like this. And when I was a little kid, and my sister, we loved this. Well, that's it. And these are my childhood arepas, and I love them dearly.
I'm gonna do that part.
We're good. All right, buddy. So, you want one?
Well, thank you.
Why not?
I don't know.
That's how you're like, I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. That's the joke. Don't you see? I've cooked all day for you. Get out of here. So we're done.
Tomorrow we're gonna be making lemonade, and we're gonna show a video.
That's
Bye
right. We're gonna do a lemonade video tomorrow. So tomorrow's lemonade. All right. Okay. So these are my childhood arepas, and they have a special place in my heart and in my mouth too. So thanks for watching. Yes, you have a question?
The end.
The end. That's a great way. Yeah, that's a great way to end it.
And cut.
You have cheese in your mouth. It's weird. So far.
Good.
Perfect.